Welcome back, family, to the final episode for this season's of Out of This Verse Food. And this weekend's dish is going to be Reader's Revenge. Now, I'm doing all these videos in piece, so you're not going to be able to see the final conception of what I've come up in my mind to get back at Christopher Hopper until the final reveal. But this next dish, it really speaks to me. Yes, it is cow tongue. You're going, gross, cow tongue. Well, the one thing about this is I was introduced to this dish back in California. I was out with some of my coworkers, and they're, oh, you got to try it, tacos de lengua. Got to try it. Got to try it. I'm like, okay. And as I was eating it, they're like, "Do you know what that is?" I'm like, yeah, I like took 3 years of Spanish, so the trick was on them. And this is actually a really delicious dish. But we got our tongue; it's frozen, and it has this real thick skin on it. So we've got to work with that because that is not going to take the smoke well. So what I've got is I've got my big pot. It's not filled with water; it's going to be just enough to cover the tongue, and we're going to add some flavor to that. I have 3 tablespoons of minced onion, 1 tablespoon of oregano, 1 tablespoon of paprika, and we're going to be putting in 3 or 4, well, we're going to go 4 tablespoons of minced garlic. You know, I like the garlic, so there's big 4 helping tablespoon or teaspoons of that. Next, I have 2 limes that have been quartered, 2 cinnamon sticks. I have a little bunch of cilantro. And next, I've got 5 bay leaves. Let's get that last lime, get him back in there with his friends. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be getting this nice pot up to a boil. And then we're going to be putting our tongue into some hot water for his jacuzzi bath. Our tongue has been in its jacuzzi bath, and we're going to be putting it out on a cutting board and letting this come to room temperature. You can see some of that skin's already started to come off of here, and we're going to be coming back lickety split. Our tongue's at room temperature, and now we're going to start peeling this outside layer of skin. We're going to get in here and get this off like so. As you see, it is starting to come off. It is getting exactly where we want it. I'm going to finish peeling this right here. It took a minute or two, but we've got the skin off of the tongue and we're ready to prep it for tomorrow. I've got a little bit of Dijon mustard here and we're going to rub it all over the tongue. We're getting our binder on here, just like we did with our beef heart earlier. So now that we've got that on there, now we're going to put a little bit of spice on it and get some flavor on the tongue. First, we're starting with Troy's AP. We're going to get that all over the tongue. Spread that. Next, we are hitting our Memphis barbecue rub. Get this all over. We're seasoning this generously. Next, hitting it up with some tahini. Give it a little bit of that pop. And next, with a little bit of cilantro lime. This is going to help tie everything in together tomorrow. Next, we're going to be putting this into our gallon Ziploc and into the fridge. And I'm telling you, it's going to taste amazing. And it's smoking time. We have our beef tongue and we have our beef heart. I trimmed some of those connective tissues off of the heart, but I did not cut off this fat cap because that's going to be some flavor and that'll impart into the meat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place the heart first onto the smoker, fat side down. And as I said, that fat is going to cook down and that's going to just impart a lot of flavor into the meat itself. Next, we have our tongue, which is going to taste amazing. And we're putting that right next to our heart. and I've got our smoker at 180 degrees, and I'm gonna turn it up to about 200 after it settles, and this is gonna be a long, low and slow smoke. We're gonna be on here for about 5 to 6 hours. We've had our heart and our tongue on the smoker now for about 4 hours. They are getting a really good bark on them. But what we want to do is we want our meat to be nice and tender. And since we're doing a slow and low process, what I'm going to be doing next is taking them off of the smoker for a second and putting them into some butcher paper. So first, I'm going to grab the heart. That is looking fantastic right there. All that seasoning is coming together inside. And now I'm going to take some of our Mumbo sauce that we made last night, and I'm going to pour just a little bit of it on here just to cover it. And then we're going to be wrapping this up and putting it back on the smoker so that way it's able to marinate with some of that flavor from the Mumbo sauce, and it's going to be able to get all the moisture inside. It's going to keep the heart from drying out because nobody wants a dry heart. And we're going to hold this up right like so. And we're going to put her back on, fold it end down. And next, for our tongue, we're doing the same thing with our tongue. The tongue is looking fantastic. There we go. And take these off and put some sauce on the tongue so it can really lick it up. It's going to take on all this extra flavor. And then we'll be putting it back on the smoker we've got probably about another 2 hours. And we're going to be making the main star of our dish. All right. Our tongue and our beef heart have been on the smoker for a total of 6 hours. We started off directly on the grill for 4 hours. Then I took them off, wrapped them in butcher paper, and we put them back on for 2 hours. Now I am taking these out and I'm going to be wrapping them in a paper towel, or not a paper towel, but a regular towel, and placing them inside a cooler, and we're going to be letting these rest for close to an hour or so while the rest of our dish. Welcome back, Spacers family. Uh, this is bittersweet. This is the last weekend for this season of Out of This Verse Food. And I want to extend this thank you to Christopher Hopper for bringing us all together through his books and by creating these universes, as well as this community that we have found ourselves in. So, with that being said, we do have a few gripes for you killing off some of our favorite characters. And please take this with a grain of salt and how much we actually do love you. You may have seen this book in a couple of the clips. This is my little notebook with all the ideas for the crazy dishes that we have made. Now, I asked of our family to provide those characters that Christopher has killed that hit us most in the feels. Richard Chalice, Aaron Enlata hit him the hardest since, you know, Aaron had achieved so much and went beyond his comfort zone. And I agree with them. Aaron, it became one of the most courageous of our bunch, and you killed him. Bill Keziak said Bumper and the loss of Chuck, which of course you tricked us all and decided to rip our hearts from us on that one. Jonathan Foy, Piper's mom, Valerie. Like you had to put, Piper through that trauma as well as her dad. Sherry Moore and Kendall. And Dan the Man, Rohor. That one hit us. Even though we knew that it had to be done, Rohor was a warrior, and with that, Rohor would not have been able to grow old and die peacefully. So we understand Rohor. Now, for me, it was a little. Rohor was one hit the most, but there is Junar. Okay. Now, with that, Christopher, this is for you. All right. Now we are on to the tongue. We prepped this one the night before by putting our binder of Dijon mustard on there. We hit it up with our seasonings, put it in a bag in the refrigerator overnight, took it off this morning, put it on the smoker at 200 degrees for 4 hours, took it off of the smoker, wrapped it in butcher's paper, put a little bit of our mumbo sauce on it, wrapped it back up, put it back in the smoker for another 2 hours, took it off of the smoker, wrapped it up in a towel, put it in the cooler, and let it rest for 2 hours with its friend, the beef heart, and it is ready to cook. We've already put some of our cilantro lime seasoning on it, and we're just going to cut a little bit off the top here. And this is going to have a very similar texture to our beef heart, a little bit like a combination between a chicken gizzard and the beef liver. It's got a good smoke ring on it. I'm going to pop this in my mouth. Mm, tastes good. Not quite as tender as I was wanting it to get, but it is still a fantastic piece of meat. I hope you get to try this one. Like I said, what I like to do with this is I'm going to mix this up with some of the beef heart, put it into one of our spinach tortillas, put some cilantro in there, a little bit of cut green onions, and some of our salsa verde, and a little bit of our cilantro lime. And I'm telling you, it's going to be one of the best tortillas you've ever had. And I can't wait to see you on the next one.